There's a new Ghostbusters coming out this year. Let's see how the original held up.
Welcome to Retro Film Review, where we take a look at classic movies that impacted our lives and generations to come. What makes them so iconic? I don't know.
And to see how it influences our lives today and what the relevance is still going on. So we're going to talk about 1984. Great year in movies. You had stuff like The Karate Kid, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, Gremlins, Beverly Hills Cop, Police Academy. But there was one movie that took over the summer.
Which one was that?
I think it's Ghostbusters. Ghostbusters is about 3 out-of-work paranormal scientists who get caught up chasing ghosts around the city and then discover an entity from another world that's trying to take over New York City. Yes. What were your thoughts on this?
There's so many. Let me first go ahead and get all the ums out of the way because that's what it's going to be through the video. So, I liked it. One of the paranormal scientists was Peter Venkman. And so he was working at the university, and he's just doing whatever to get by. He doesn't really take this stuff serious, what he's doing with his friends, Stance and
trying to hit on a whole bunch of women.
Oh, yes. His thing, he's a ladies' man. So that's one thing that a lot of people can relate to, and you can tell right away that that's all he's in it for. He wants an easy job at the university. That's how he views it. He's trying to get in with the ladies by using his doctor status. Because, that's the key thing there.
Kind of a classic Bill Murray character.
That's right, definitely. If you've seen other Bill Murray movies, then you know exactly what we're talking about. He comes off a certain way, and then he changes his character, which we'll talk about later in the movie, some character development.
And then his partner, which is played, Stance, which is played by Dan Aykroyd, he's all into it.
Oh, yes.
He is all into it.
In real life, he and his entire family are into the paranormal community.
That's right.
So he believes in it. That's how this movie kind of came about. It's because he's completely into the paranormal. He believes in ghosts. He believes in all the spirits. He believes in everything.
And Dan Aykroyd really helped write the script and kind of got it started.
It was going to be in outer space. They were going to have kind of like SWAT teams that would go from planet to planet and just different areas to fight ghosts and things like that. But
I'm glad that didn't happen that way.
Well, with the studio budget, that would have been about 10 times more than what it was.
Yes.
They made the movie. Ivan Reitman, who right before that worked with Bill Murray and Harold Ramis and actually John Candy, which we'll talk about, and Stripes. But he went to the studio. Stripes cost like $10 million to do, so he had no idea how much Ghostbusters was. So he said $30 million. And he said, "All right, green light it, let's go." But you have 13 months to get it on the screen.
Right. And then they also had to put Harold Ramis to help beef up the script and kind of move it to a New York City town or location, which originally they were wanting to do Chicago, right?
That's right, because Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi did film Blues Brothers in Chicago.
Correct.
And the original script had John Belushi as Peter Venkman.
Yes.
But of course, we all know what happened to John Belushi. Well, if you don't,
he died.
He passed away one night. And so they had to put the role to somebody else.
Right.
And so they went with comedy legend Bill Murray.
Bill Murray. So, and the funny thing that our stories I've heard about that is he accepted it, but they never had anything in writing, and they didn't even know whether or not he was going to show up for the first day.
Yep.
But he did. And if you haven't seen, that's from a Netflix show, How Movies Were Made. It's really good. You should go watch it.
Definitely.
But what are some of your favorite scenes in the movie?
Can I say the entire movie? Can I say
I
that?
know. It's all great. It's all great. It's hard to pull out anything in there.
That's why we're talking about it.
Yeah.
That's why this is our first video.
That's right. But so one of my initial favorite scenes is them finding the librarian, the floating apparition in the library.
Well, they had the symmetrical book stacking.
Yes.
They had
Yes.
before. Nobody stacks books like that.
They don't. But yeah, so they had, and that was in the New York Public Library, which obviously is still there. The funny thing, it was all under construction during they first filmed it, you have talked to me before about the music cues and all that kind of stuff that make it ominous as we kind of go in.
The score, before you see the first scene, it sets that eerie tone that something's going to go on. Funko Pops fell over. Can't do that.
You're knocking
That's why
down
I don't take them out of the box, except for you. Except for you, for the video watchers. You're special. So, but yeah, the score starts off, it's the eerie sound, and that sets the whole tone for the entire movie.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the New York City Library that they're in is just a research library. You can't check out books. They just go and research it.
So. I never realized. I've always wondered about those big libraries like that. If you can actually go check out, are you going to be able to find your John Grisham books there and go check it out? I don't think so.
I don't know. I have, of course, a lot of favorite scenes, or a lot that I like. One that's kind of a reoccurring thing is Louis Tully, played by Rick Moranis, who every time Dana comes by, or every time he comes out of his door of his apartment, he gets locked out.
Yeah.
And so it's a reoccurring kind of scene, but I enjoy it just because of who Rick Moranis is and what he brings to it.
Yeah. What I really liked how they infused just the comedy with almost a science fiction aspect of it. As well as the horror. I mean, it was kind of a three-tier movie that it kind of hit on all aspects of it. And so you had these comic geniuses who were all working together, who had worked together before, and just throwing in the horror aspects of the ghost, and they really ranged everything from frightening to funny. Yes. Especially when you get to the hotel scene with Slimer, and he's comic, a comically done character, which was done after
John
Belushi.
That's right.
But I really liked how they infused all of those aspects together, and it just made it into a really cohesive film. Because growing up, I was a huge Star Wars fan. And I know, shocking. Believe it or not,
you should see his room
later. But having that my love of science fiction, which also grew into a love of horror movies from watching late night HBO. This kind of really encapsulated everything there. It just got the moment right. And so whenever you had with their big old proton packs and their light beams and their streams that we're supposed to do.
How did 3 out-of-work scientists create proton packs with no money? Because they had to mortgage Stance's parents' house.
Yeah, just to get the fire station.
Just to get the fire station.
A very run-down fire station.
But everybody has 3 mortgages these days.
Yes.
Interest rate 19%. You gotta love it.
I don't know. I must be residuals from Stripes and Blues Brothers.
Yeah, really. Yeah, that's the truth.
Yeah, these are the questions we don't answer. That's the science fiction part of it. There's no way that could have happened.
Movie magic.
Yes. But but even with what was great is that the movie kept building as you went through it. It wasn't that it started off small, almost kind of like Jaws. Where Jaws was, yes. You just see the fin, and then you go to the end where you see the full shark. This is kind of the same way, is that you see little bits and pieces all the way until you get to the very end with our final confrontation with our destroyer that comes and takes over the world.
That leads to one of my other favorite parts, and it's just a small clip about there whenever, I don't know, can we go ahead and say it now?
Go ahead. Let's go ahead.
Anyway, they're trying to defeat the end monster, or the end person, Gozer the Gozerian, and they have to battle the destroyer, but they end up crossing their streams, which we can talk about from their proton packs, and when the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man comes up over the building, not the counter, he goes, because he knows what's going on. He sees them doing it, and just an 80-foot tall marshmallow man.
Yeah.
Got a little sailor hat kind of thing going on.
But those moments like that, those little touches, that's what makes it more special.
Yes.
You have these little reactions where people are not just doing, but you're also reacting to things that are going on around you.
Oh, yes.
Which, for a summer film, that's pretty good.
Yeah, there was Gremlins and Ghostbusters came out on the same day.
I know, isn't that amazing?
So for two iconic films to come out on the same day, that's a lot of summer watching.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah. So let's go with some of the characters.
all right.
So let's go off. Let's start with Bill Murray. He's our main character.
Yes.
We talked a little bit about
Peter
his
Venkman.
womanizer, but you mentioned about his character change throughout that.
Right. Well, throughout the movie, he starts out kind of like a playboy. He's trying to basically get the ladies. He uses his power as a scientist, as a doctor, to entice them. People are excited about that, the ladies. And so, even when they get their first customer, once they start their own business, which is Dana, played by Sigourney Weaver, he's trying to put the moves on her. He's going to go to her apartment, to check out the ghost, but he's like, I'm going to go to her apartment and check her out. Check out her apartment.
Yes.
Oops. So, he basically comes on pretty strong onto her while they're in the apartment. And when he actually gets the chance to be with her, when she turns into Zool, which is fun. There's a little dog gargoyle thing. But he turns it down, says no. Well, then, so his character is developing where he actually has more feelings and for others,
Yeah.
and not in that general way.
Right,
So he has a nice story arc.
It is.
Until you get to Ghostbusters 2.
True.
Another day.
That's maybe another day.
Maybe.
That was not my favorite. They're going to redeem themselves this year, hopefully, with the new one. So we have his partner, which is
He's got a couple partners, but his best friend
is Stance, who's played by Dan Aykroyd. Dan Aykroyd, best known from Saturday Night Live and from Blues Brothers.
Yes.
He is really he's what I would call the heart of the movie.
Yes.
Like he really is all into this. His partner Spengler, which we'll talk about in a second, he's more cold and he's more calculated. But Stance is the one that he's the emotion and why this team really holds together. They hold together because of him. He's the one that keeps keeps it going and keeps talking about the end of times, and he wants to find the resolution with all this. Now let's talk about Dana, who is the love interest in it.
Yes, Sigourney Weaver played Dana. She actually had to interview for that part, even though she just basically came off of Aliens and was a huge star.
Right.
Ivan Reitman still had her interview, and it was actually her idea to transform into the dog character.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And great that he also would take suggestions like that from his soon-to-be stars.
But she thought she needed to be in a full dog costume. And so Ivan Reitman said, no, we're not going to do that.
That might be pushing a little bit too far.
Pushing a little bit. But she had to act like a dog during her interview. So I bet that was interesting.
But,
But what does she do for a living?
She's an actress. No, Dana.
Yes, Sigourney
She
Weaver.
was a musician.
Actress, maybe.
She was a musician, right?
Yes.
Which it really just kind of touched on. You never saw her playing anything.
No, probably because she can't play.
Probably not.
Sigourney, if you can, I'm sorry.
I know we still love you. But she went from kind of being, I would almost say, kind of mousy. She wasn't. I mean, she was very independent.
Oh yes, very independent.
But went to when she was possessed to going to the more sleazy,
sleazy.
And
that's
provocative.
one way to say it, but you could argue that it really wasn't.
It wasn't her. It was her.
It was Zool.
Zool was sleazy.
Zool. What a cool name! I'm gonna change my name to Zool. No, that might not be good.
We can name the dog Zool.
Copyright infringement or something, trademarked.
So, but and Sigourney was great because we're still knocking them down. Sorry. The well, and just her journey in trying to do it and trying to go through the movie, and just what she had to overcome, the character, especially being how her apartment was possessed and seeing very weird things that was not explainable.
Well, yeah, I mean, she comes home from the grocery store first thing, and her eggs are throwing themselves out of the carton and cooking on the countertop, which a little foreshadowing, there's a bag of Stay Puft marshmallows sitting right there. So
very nicely just propped up so that you can see.
Would you like a cup of coffee from my cup? Just average cup.
Yeah.
So,
so now let's see, we got our third Ghostbuster, Spengler.
Yep. He is definitely the more serious character of them all. In fact, it was his, which is played by Harold Ramis. It was his idea that Spengler never smiles. He's during the character role. He's completely serious. Nothing's funny to him. Everything. He would try to drill a hole in his head before Venkman stopped him one time. We don't see that, but it's referred
mentioned
to.
About that. He was sure it will still work.
Would have worked if you didn't stop me. If you hadn't stopped me.
Right.
So, but he is the techie one. Annie Potts, who plays the receptionist, she has a thing for him.
Yes,
big time. But he's the more technical one. Like you said, Stantz is the heart. Venkman's the non-really believer. He
Correct.
doesn't really believe until they see the ghost in the library.
Right.
And, that look on his face is like, what do we do now?
We'll talk about another disbeliever. I don't think that Janine, for Annie Potts' character, even believed that anything was going on.
No, I think she just wanted the job.
She just wanted a job.
Yeah.
Just like somebody else.
Yeah, who could that be? Winston
Zeddemore.
Yep. We'll talk about him in a minute. But Janine, like we said, had the hots for Spengler. I keep wanting to call them by their actors' names, and I've got to remember not to.
We can figure it out.
Yeah.
She may have had the hots for, Harold Ramis.
That's true.
So, but did they end up at the end together?
Yeah, you stumped me.
Because
I don't think they do.
I'm thinking that, isn't it in the Ghostbusters 2? Isn't it the...
I thought we were going to talk about Ghostbusters 2.
No, but I want to know about this character. We're talking about character development, not Ghostbusters 2. But didn't she end up in the second movie, Lewis and...
Yes, in the second movie, yes.
Yeah.
But not
the first one.
This movie, no.
So another reason why I didn't like Ghostbusters 2, because it just didn't carry on the character development.
Yeah. We can talk about Ghostbusters 2 another time. Yeah, a lot of character development in that one too. Yeah. It's all over the place. But I'm guessing that Spengler's the one who developed the proton packs, because he's talking about it as a nuclear accelerator or whatever on their backs, and they had never tested them out before they went to the hotel, their first actual call.
Yeah.
To go after Slimer, and they're in the elevator, and they're like, "Go ahead and switch me on," and the thing makes a loud noise, and they start moving over to the side, like that's going to really help them.
It's just going to explode on me.
Yes.
That brings up another historical line from that scene.
He slimed me.
Great.
Yes.
Great.
He's rolling around on the ground, all the green nastiness.
Yes.
Which, ironically, now we're talking way too much about Ghostbusters 2. He did not want to be slimed in Ghostbusters 2, but that was very essential to the plot of the thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, got to get off track on that one.
Well,
but
I think you mentioned me before that he didn't really like to have marshmallow fluff all over him either.
No. One of my favorite things that I like a lot of trivia and just different stuff, and I don't know if this is trivia, but when Stay Puft explodes at the end, when they defeat everything, that all this marshmallow fluff is going down. It gets on people down the street. It covers the three of the four Ghostbusters, and Venkman comes out, and he's got like maybe a little bit on his shoulder, a little bit on his hair, but the rest of it, he's actually clean, and the rest of them are just drenched in it. And I'm like, it figures he would be the one that...
He hid behind Dan Aykroyd.
Yeah. That's bad.
So, I guess if we had a villain other than a human villain in the movie, it would be Walter Peck, who headed up the Environmental Protection Agency.
That's right.
And this guy was basically hell-bent on trying to stop the Ghostbusters.
But why? I mean, they were trapping ghosts, helping save the city. Well, I guess they weren't saving the city. They were helping people in the city.
Yeah.
By trapping these ghosts. And then,
well, he was just worried about their energy consumption that was going off the roof at this...
They weren't going green.
The firehouse.
Yeah.
But he obviously didn't care at all about what the repercussions were.
Well, no. So he came back with the warrant and made them shut it off. I really wanted to know, how big was that containment unit? Because they just have a red box on there, but they put the trap in. Was there a room behind it?
Well, they're all evaporation. They just squeezed them all down.
Just
squeeze them all down.
I need to be...
But, William Antheron, I think is his name, who played Peck, he kind of got typecast after that.
Yes, he
for
did.
Playing just really a-holes for like the rest of the 80s and 90s. Most famous one after that was Die Hard.
Die Hard, yes.
And I'm sure he's a really nice man, but just typecast.
Talking about typecast, and you mentioned Die Hard, another character that's in both movies is Reginald VelJohnson.
Yeah.
He plays the cop in Ghostbusters. He's got a very small role. So he plays the cop whenever the Ghostbusters are in jail, and he comes and gets them out, and basically like the mayor wants to see you. So he's got a very small role. But in Die Hard, he's the one who helps John McClane save
the day.
Save Nakatomi Plaza.
Yes. And then we have one more Ghostbuster that came in at the end. Winston Zeddemore. And he just looking for a job.
Yes. Janine asked him if he believes in all these different things, ghost spirits and everything else, and paranormal. And he says, if it comes with a steady paycheck, I'll believe anything you tell me.
Right. And so Winston Zeddemore was played by Ernie Hudson.
Yes.
And I think originally this role was supposed to have been played by Eddie Murphy, correct?
Murphy, that's right.
And one of the interesting facts that they talked about on that, how movies were made, was that the Winston Zeddemore character was actually fully fleshed out early in the movie. But I think that was when Eddie Murphy was tied onto it. And so he
was a bigger star.
Whenever Ernie Hudson had got the script, he had the original one with Eddie Murphy in it, signed on to it, and this is going to be a huge movie for me.
Yep.
But then when they got it, they had to rewrite it and kind of flesh out a lot of the other characters who had just joined in. And he got relegated to, midway through the movie?
Yeah, basically.
And so
he got a much smaller role.
Yeah. But I think it still worked out for him. I mean, everybody knows him as the fourth Ghostbuster, and he had a very good career after that.
Yes, he did. And then he had a couple of the memorable lines.
Yes, he did.
Especially
at the
mayor's office.
The mayor's office.
Yes. I've only been with these guys a short time, and let me tell you, I've seen stuff that will turn you white. And then the other line was, if someone asks you if you're a god, you say yes. We didn't really talk about Lewis, though.
We did skip over Lewis, yes.
I mean, I talked about him a little bit.
You did, but I know that's your favorite character. But we do need to go talk about him because he does play a very vital role in this.
Very vital role. Let me backtrack a little bit. When you mentioned Eddie Murphy was maybe supposed to be for, not maybe. You mentioned Eddie Murphy was supposed to be for Winston Zeddemore.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they actually envisioned John Candy as Louis Tully.
Oh.
Yeah, so John Candy wanted to talk in a German accent. He wanted to have two Doberman Pinschers as his dogs. And the director was like, no, we've already got these big gargoyles that are basically dogs. We don't need you to have two more dogs.
John Candy wanted to be Abe Froman, the Sausage King of Chicago.
Really. We're definitely doing that movie. But I think Rick Moranis did a better job. I love John Candy. I absolutely love him. But all the Ghostbusters and even Dana, they're like 6 foot tall.
Right.
So you got Rick Moranis coming in at 5'4". You know, there's a huge difference, and he plays the part so well of kind of
Meek and mild.
Meek and mild. You know, John Candy, I've never seen him. Well, maybe in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles at first, you get that little character, but you know he's 6 foot tall. So I mean, it just works better with Rick Moranis.
Yeah.
But I could see John Candy in that role, not with a German accent, not with Doberman pinchers, but still playing that role though.
Yeah, and I think you really hit the nail on the head. It's the contrast of his characters to everything else that really just sells it. Because, again, he gets possessed, and then, you know, the whole movie he's trying to woo Dana.
Yes.
Which, when he becomes possessed, he finally gets his wish. It may not be in the way that he envisioned it. But it happens.
Yes, he was the key master.
Yeah.
She was the gatekeeper.
So another aspect that made this such a huge hit was the music of it.
Oh, heck yeah.
And so not only... Really what pushed it is the theme song.
Yes.
Who are you going to call?
Ghostbusters.
You know, sung by Ray Parker Jr. The album was released the week of the movie, but the song really didn't hit till probably about a week or two after that. Yeah. The movie was released in June. The song hit number 1 in August, but it was on the top 100 charts for 13 weeks.
It was on there for a long time.
But it was such a pop culture phenomenon that everybody knew this song and knew exactly when you heard those notes, you knew what it meant.
If we went and played it outside right now, everybody would know it.
Right.
It's that iconic.
Right. And, you know, this was also the day whenever you had music videos. And what really helped propel this was the fact that you had the stars of Ghostbusters in the music video.
Yep.
And, you know, also this is really before you had premium stations to watch, but you didn't. This was kind of pre-VCR, or it might have been right as time as VHS was kind of coming out.
We're dating ourselves.
I know, we are dating ourselves. But you didn't, but we didn't have these movies to watch at home. And so for me, for a lover of the movie, my only taste of that was actually watching this music video where I could see scenes from the movie and see the actual stars dancing down the street. So it just kept building this momentum.
I wanted to talk back. You kind of were mentioning my favorite scene. I know you have a favorite scene, kind of like when the firehouse or the fire station.
Well, that's a good, because that's really one of the better, from my favorite, effects. But when the firehouse exploded and you had all the ghosts being released and perforated throughout the city.
Yeah, the effects were really good for the time that it was. And, of course, now everything is CGI.
Yeah. But this was a lot of practical effects that they had did, or puppetry work that was then, I guess, you know, placed onto the actual film, which is...
Yeah, the gargoyles were claymation or stop motion.
Yeah.
I know the suit for... They had 3 suits of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, which somebody actually got in and was doing it. They all 3 were destroyed.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah. Some
what would that go for today?
Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine.
But just in the miniatures that they did of the city with him walking through it,
yep.
It really did use a lot, just all different mediums of effects that you just, you know, people don't see nowadays. It's, like I said, it's all computer graphics. And a lot of times when you have those types that you meld all different types of effects together, it seems like you always get a better product for that. But, you know, and honestly, minus a couple of scenes, the effects to me still hold up today.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the only thing that I think was weak was the gargoyles in the apartment scene where they attacked.
Well, yeah, when it jumps out from behind the desk through the door to try to go after Tully, you know, it crumples on a table and stuff like that, and you can tell it's extremely fake.
Right. So what do you think about the relevance of this movie in today's age? How do you think it's held up? We definitely have many versions of home video, so it's been out everywhere.
Merchandising. So, no, I think it's still relevant today. You're not supposed to laugh at that. It's merchandising.
Another Spaceball reference.
Another Spaceball reference. Gotta love Mel Brooks. So, it's still relevant today as it was when it first came out in 1984. You've got grandparents that are taking their grandkids. When they first saw it in 84 back in the theater, they've shared it with their kids. Now they're taking their grandkids to see it. There are Ghostbuster clubs where people dress up in full Ghostbuster outfits. It's basically movie quality. The props where they have the proton packs, the thing, they have ghost traps. People have even done the Ecto one, which we did not actually talk about, which is a 1959 Cadillac hearse / ambulance. Anyway, so it runs the gamut. People are quoting the movie all the time. We've talked about the music.
So what are your thoughts about Ghostbusters? Did you like it? Did you still find it relevant today? Put comments down below. We would love to hear back from you.
So what you want to do is you want to hit that subscribe button right there. You want to hit the like. You want to share this video with all your friends because, of course, why wouldn't you? And then you want to hit the bell notification so you can get our latest and greatest videos that'll be coming. And